Hey guys, this is Mike here doing a proof of concept sort of video for my applied GTO coaching. Basically what I've done here is put a fairly complex equilibrium solve into Cardrunners EV, and I'm just going to kind of show that it's pretty close to the equilibrium by running max exploit on both sides of the tree. If you're kind of interested in this type of coaching, you probably understand what that means and what that shows. And if not, you can always ask me. So the situation: button raised preflop, BB called. They're both playing pretty wide ranges. Maybe button's around 60% open and BB's probably calling like a cold call, maybe like 50 to 60%, so pretty wide. The flop, BB is check called. He check called the turn, and the button obviously double barreled. And then they got to the river. On the river, the BB checks all his hands, which is correct, but I'm not going to get into it too much here. And then the button has sort of 3 betting options and can obviously check back. He can bet 2/3 pot, or all in, which is about 2.5 times pot. The pot's 62, stacks are 168, and doesn't especially matter, but this is entered as a 1-2 hand, 1-2 no limit at 100 big blinds deep. So, BB in this situation, how these ranges work out, he is at a bit of an equity disadvantage on this river. He has 44%, and also he has kind of a more bluff catcher heavy range, and the button has a more polar range and also a lot stronger, more strong hands. We can kind of see that here. You can see the button has he has one pair, 67% of the time, which isn't great. You can see he only has 2 pair, about 14%, and he doesn't have a ton of like non-showdownable air, which is denoted here. So yeah, pretty bluff catcher heavy, or very bluff catcher heavy. And the button, on the other hand, he only has 1 pair, about 46%, and even then a lot of those are like over pair, top pair, and his middle pair is usually a pretty good hand because that 9 never hits BB's range almost ever. So he has some stronger mid pairs like Ace-7, King-7, Queen-7, whereas BB's mid pair range is he has some Ace-7 and stuff, but he has a lot more like 8-7, 6-7 kind of hands. So those 7s in the button range is a little bit stronger. He also has more 3 of a kind, more 2 pair, more straights, basically more of all the good hands. And then he also has more kind of non-showdownable air. He has more 6s and 3s that he barreled, 8s that missed here, some flush draws that the BB doesn't really have, and yeah, that kind of thing. So anyway, long story short is it's pretty much polar versus bluff catcher ish situation here. So as we would expect, the BB is not realizing all of his equity here. I think if we check down at 100% here, it's about $27 for the BB, so he's losing a fair bit. So let's get into the max exploit here. First we'll do for the button. So in a tree this size, he's got quite a few options to exploit, so you need to be pretty balanced in all the spots if you're the BB here. If you're not, you can get pretty exploited pretty fast. There's a lot of kind of different lines to balance. Button can move hands between sizings, so if you're folding to overbets too much, he'll bluff a lot as an overbet, or if you're calling too much versus the smaller sizing, he might move hands into there. If you're not check raising enough value, he'll bet call a lot. If you're check raising bluff too much, he'll bet, or if you're not check raising as a bluff ever, he'll bet fold a lot. So there's a lot of ways that he can exploit you. So let's see, it goes from 20.0 basically down to 19.66, which is pretty close, pretty tight. That's the pot's 62 and our EV is only going down by about 35 cents, so that's hardly anything at all. And then if we get back our original EVs, and then we'll exploit from the BB size, or from the BB side. The way he would exploit here, again, pretty standard stuff. If you're not bluffing enough, he would check fold a lot. If you're bluffing too much, he would check call a lot. He could check raise bluff. He could never check raise bluff. Those are pretty much his options here. So again, button needs to be very well balanced to defend against all those possibilities, and he's not doing quite as well, but still very close. BB gains about looks like 75 cents here, which again in a pot of 62 is definitely a pretty small amount. So